Tutorial Part 4 represented data in JSON. In part 3 we have learned about a JSON array. So in this session we are going to see how to represent data in a JSON format. So let me start this session. So this is an example of a JSON where we have an opening curly brace, a closing curly brace. So whenever we are having an opening and a curly brace, it means that is a object, that is a JSON object. So this is the start of the object, which is a JSON object, and this is the end of the object where we have a closing curly brace for a corresponding opening curly brace. And inside the JSON object we can have a different fields. We have a two fields at this point of time. In this example we have a book, we have the price range. And when we say a book field is having a opening square bracket. Whenever we have an opening square bracket, it means that field is a JSON array. So this JSON array is right now it is having an opening square bracket, closing square bracket. It means, and this is the array of a object, and this array object is having a different fields: title, author, price. And this title is having a string value, and this price is nothing but a number values. Array objects can be of a JSON objects. It can hold strings, it can hold boolean, it can hold numbers as well. And when we see it here, this is a price range. So price range is a JSON object. This is opening curly brace, closing curly brace, and inside this JSON object we have a different fields. One is a cheap, another is a medium. So these are nothing but number values. We can have the integers, we can have a double and a floating points. We can add it in the fields whenever we are saying a number. A number cannot be present inside a double quotation marks. A JSON object can have the arrays, it can have the JSON object itself. Let me go and create a JSON by using an example. So this is having a customer information. We have the customer ID, customer first name, last name, age, and the interest. So when we are saying the customer ID, so these are the different fields. We can add it inside a JSON object because this is not having a multiple information. Like here we have customer interest. Interest can be, the customer interest can be in the cars, it can be in the bike. So this is having the arrays. But if we talk about these things, this is having a single value. So that's why these fields are going to be the part of a JSON object. So let's add a JSON object. So whenever you want to add a JSON object, you need to add a opening curly brace, and then you need to add a closing curly brace. And inside this particular opening and closing curly brace, we are going to add the fields. So whenever you are going to add the fields, you need to add inside a double quote. So here is a cust ID, and then we are going to close it inside a double quotes, followed by the colon and the value. Right now the value of this cust ID is equal to 200. We are using a colon and the value. So this is nothing but a number. So whenever you are adding the numbers, you don't need to add it inside a double quotes. And after adding the field and the key value pair, so this is nothing but a key and a value pair. So this is the key and this is the value. So now we are going to add another field inside this particular JSON object. So whenever you are going to add the fields, you need to separate it with the help of a comma. Now we can add another key value. So this is saying cust first name, and the value is going to be the Peter. So the Peter is a string, so we are going to add the strings inside a double quotes. So here is a double quotes Peter, and then we are going to close it. We are going to add another field. This time it is saying cust last name colon, and then double quotes. Inside the double quotes we are going to add the name, which is this John. We have another field, and this field is a cust age. The customer age equal to 35. We are not going to add it inside double quotes because the numbers needs to be outside the double quotes. We have another field, which is this a customer interest. So this is having a multiple value. So whenever we have the multiple values for the field, then we are going to add them as an array. So right now we have the customer interest, because whenever you are going to display it on the website, on the page, then this customer interest can be have a multiple values in the form of the checkboxes. Like a customer interest can be a car, it can be a bike, it can be plane, or it can be other customer interests as well. So those we are going to add it in the form of a multiple selection. So whenever we have multiple selections, then we are going to add them as arrays. So customer interest, which is this cust interest, is a field. So let's come it here. We are going to add the field. We are saying cust interest, And if you talk about the customer interest, so this is having multiple values. It is going to be the array of a strings, because these values are a string, car and a bike. So we are going to add them as a array. So whenever you want to add the array, you need to start with the square brackets and a closing square bracket inside. If you want to add the string values, if you have options, if you have a values as a string, then we are going to add them inside a double quotes. So here is interest is car, and then we are having another interest, which is this bike. So we have added two values, and this is nothing but a array of strings. We have another field, which is a car field. And if you talk about the cars, we have a car ID, we have the name and the price of that particular car. So these items we cannot add it as a array of strings. What we need to do is we need to add them as an object. So right now the cars, let's go and add the car field here. So have a comma, then we are saying car. So this car is nothing but an array of objects. Whenever you want to add an array, then you need to start it with a square bracket and then a closing square bracket, and inside this opening and a closing square brackets we need to add the fields, and then we need to add the fields, add the items. So right now we have a multiple fields, ID, name and the price. We are going to add them inside a JSON object. So let's commit here. We are saying ID needs to be, or this is the key, we need to add it inside a double quotes, provide the value which is a number. We are not going to add it inside a double quotes, and then the name of the car, which is this string, we are going to add it inside a double quotes, which is this BMW. Now we are going to have another value, another field, which is this price. So let's have the price here as a number, so which is this this is the price of the car. Now we are having another record inside this particular customer. So this customer is having another car, which is this Audi. So we are going to add another object, which is a JSON object. So let's copy this JSON object and add it by having a comma. Now we are having another record, which is having ID is equal to, we can say 1, and then the value is Audi. So this is the value, and the price needs to be 125000. So we have added a two object inside a car. So car is nothing but an array of objects. So whenever we have a multiple choices at that point of time, we are going to use, or we are going to add them inside arrays. So right now we have the cost interest, we have a multiple choices, we have added an array of a string. So we have the car. So car is having the different information related to ID, name and the prices. We have created object, and then we have added it inside the cars of an array of objects. We have another data set. So this is another data set. So let's do one thing, let's copy this and create another data set. So whenever you want to separate two data sets, you need to have a comma. So let's add it. So right now the customer ID is 210, and then we have the name is equal to Flores. So let's convert this to a Flores, and then we have the John, the ID, the customer age is equal to 20, and then we have the car as well. So instead of having a customer interest, it is only having a customer interest only of a car. So right now we have two options. We are going to get rid of one options. So we are only have a customer interest only inside the cars. This customer is having a one car, which is a BMW. So we can get rid of this as well. So we have added another data set, which is this customer information related to a Flores, and it is having a one interest in the car. So we have added two JSON objects, JSON object 1 and the JSON object 2 of this particular data set. So now let's do one thing, let's check it out whether the JSON which we have created is valid or not. So let's copy this, commit here on the website and a paste. So now let's process it. Okay, we are getting a syntax error. We have not separated the fields by comma. So let's commit here again. Now we can have it here a comma, and then we are also going to have the comma here. So now let's copy this, commit here again, and then we are going to add it and check it out whether it is correct or not. So let's have a process here and to see whether we have the error. So right now we are getting the error. What is the reason behind it? The reason is, we can see right now we have two objects, one object and another object. So whenever you want to add the objects, you need to add them inside, whether you can add it inside another JSON object or you can add it inside an array. So right now we have two objects, object 1 and the object 2. So these are the multiple values. So whenever you have a multiple values, like here we have the information related to a car. So we have a two JSON objects, we have added it inside a car, which is a array of objects. It means we have a two objects here on the top, we need to add them inside a array. So whenever you want to have a array, you need to open square bracket, and then we are going to have a closing square bracket. So copy this, commit here, and then we can process it one more time. So let's have a process. We have a valid JSON. Whenever you have a multiple choices, whenever you have a multiple objects, you need to add them inside an array. And in this way, we can convert a data set to a different JSONs as well. So that's it in this session.